Welcome back to HiCode tutorial. In this course, we'll continue to work on the services. First thing, switch to the server. Add another service, which is called delete. And we can add another wrap to have it organized. From previous videos, we know that each record has its unique data ID. So it is preferred to use data ID for lookup whether you need to update or to locate a certain record and delete it. So that I will add an input parameter of data ID. For the output, I will have delete result and the reason for if it failed. In this video, I'm going to show you two methods of deleting, and I would recommend you use the second one. So going on to work on the definition, and to delete data, the target would be the database. And there we have delete. After I select the delete, it allows me to set conditions. For example, I can delete everyone that is above 20 years old. That could delete multiple records at a time, but today what I want is only one at a time. So that I will change this to data ID, which equals to the data ID received from the front end. And this one is to set a limit for the number of the records to be deleted. So in this case, it will be 1. Same as before, add a callback, and the target would be the current service. And this one is the result, and if it is success, and this one would be the failure reason. And next, debug to see whether it can delete data for us. First, take a look at the database. We now have those data IDs from 1 to 13, all of them. Let's try to delete this one with data ID 2. Back to the service. Enter 2 and debug. It returned us false, so the service failed, for deleting data is not allowed. From the video in database properties, we have known that protection is by default turned on, which means data deleting is only allowed for its submitter, or it is totally forbidden. Therefore, to delete data, we'll have to first turn off this protection before we call the service again. Now try again with the second record. Debug. This time it returned us true. Going back to the database, the one with data ID 2 is now deleted. And that is the first method of deleting, to actually delete one record in the database. But as you can see, this is a dangerous action. If someone else got access to your delete service through an API, they may even clear your database. So it is highly recommended to keep this turned on. Then, how do we delete data without actually deleting data? That is the second method, a common and also a standard way of deleting, by updating the status of records instead of truly deleting them. To modify status in the database, we will first add a field. Name it status. The field type doesn't matter that much. We'll just use text. Also, you can define the status according to your own preference. For example, I will use 1 for existing data. and when a record is deleted, I will change it to 0. Therefore, the second method of deleting is actually, in essence, an operation of updating. So create another service for the second method inside the delete wrap and call this one delete status. Because we are doing an updating operation, we'll still have to use data ID as our input. And for the outputs, the delete result and the reason. And when the service is called, the target is the database, and we will choose update. Set the condition to the data ID equals to the data ID from the input, and update should be set status to 0. And again, because data ID is unique, the limit is 1. And for the callback, it is basically the same as what we have done in the updating service. Similarly, we would have 3 logical branches for the delete by status service. So the first one is failure, and the second one is the server thinks that the process is successful, but actually 0 records is updated. And the third one is the service is actually successful. Let's repeat this again. So first add a condition. If the result is success equals to quote false, the current service's output would be false, and the reason would be server error. Otherwise, the service is successfully run, which means else. But when the number of records updated equals to 0, we will still regard it as a failure. We can copy this. It is still false, and change the reason to say no record found. The last branch would be a real success, so the service is successfully run and the count is not 0. This time the output would be quote true. For now, in the database, the status is set to 1. And we can debug this. And for the debug value, we will set data ID equals to 1. When it returns true, inside the database, the first record status is set to 0. And since we regard this record with a status 0 to be deleted, we'll need to make some changes to the select and output service. Here we need to add a new condition to the output. We will only output records with a status 1. So select field status equals to 1. And same here, add a condition with this plus sign. Status equals to 1. Similarly, we will need the new records to come with a status of 1. Go to the Submit Data service, renew, and we have this status, set it to 1. And for this Customize Submit, it will be a little bit more complicated. This service has a matrix object as its input, the one inside a pair of curved brackets, And thus we'll have to first add a column to that matrix object before handing it to the service. To do this, we'll need a data hub. So add on the server an object, and this will be the hub. Go back to this service, and at the beginning we will set the value of this hub to the submitted data, which is the input from the front end. Also, we will need to add a column to this hub, add and fill elements. The field name would be inside the database status. So status, and the default value would be 1. And next, the insert one entry action would take input from the data hub that we've just made. And such is the second method of deleting data. It is always recommended to delete data with a status column instead of turning off the protection and actually delete them from your database. And for the next step, let's go back to the stage and complete the user interface for delete. Last time we added an edit icon, so similarly inside this row, add another icon for delete. This one is 20 times 20. To fit it inside this row, change it smaller. And for the icon, I've just uploaded one, which I've downloaded from the internet. This trash bin. Give it a red color. Complete the event for delete. When it is clicked, call the service for delete. We will go with this change status delete. The data ID will come from, since this trash bin icon is inside the v4 widget, we will just use current data dot data ID. And when it's completed, we will have two logical branches for if it succeeded or if it failed. So when the result dot delete result is true, we will delete a line in this registration list on the front end to make it consistent with the database. Delete rows by index, and the row index is the current index. Also send a message to the user by showing toast delete success, succeeded. And next, for the else branch, which means the process failed, we will show another message reading the reason of the failure. Let's try to delete a record in the preview. Take these two as examples. It showed us delete succeeded. And when we go to the database, the status of these two records are changed to 0. And when we refresh this page, those two will not show up again. And just now we modified the adding records function. I also check if that is still working. So preview the first page, add another record, it says submitted. Check the database, and we do have the new record with status 1. And this time, I will submit data with an object. And this is working as well. To recap, for deleting data, we would recommend this sudo delete method. Locate the record to be deleted with its data ID and change its status code. And remember to modify your workflow of inserting and displaying data so that the new records won't be set to deleted when they are first added to the database, and that you won't display data with a deleted code. And that is all for this video on data deleting. Thank you very much for watching.